Okay, so we are going to see that how a Linux boot process is going to start. Okay, so breaking the Linux booting process, and we can break the Linux root password if does not have any grub password. Okay, so how we can do that? So first of all, we have to understand how the Linux booting process is going to happen, then only we can say that. Okay, so how we can break, where we can break the system, and we can recover the password. So now, so first of all, what we do here, it is that we have the machine, right? So what we can do here, it is that we just power on the machine, power on the machine. So whenever you power on the machine, what happens? So whenever you press a power button, what happens here, it is that it goes to signal, sends to the smps. Okay, the switch mode power supply. Okay, the power supply, the smps will going to switch on. Okay, so whenever the smps is switch on, the fan is start rotating, and it's supplying the power supply to the all the components. Okay, so whenever the power is supplying and starting the all the components, then what happens here, it is that it happens the pgs in the sense power on boot signal, power on boot signal in the sense. So I have sent a power on signal to all the uh, components of the hardware, all the hardware components. Then all the components will get a message saying that, okay, I got a power signal, I say I have to switch on, switch on, switch on. So every each and every component will going to switch on. So before switching on the each and every component, like the buses or the processor, RAM, all the stuff. So what happens here, it is that it's going to happen a post in the sense power on self test. Each and every component, what happens here, it is they will test each, say that, okay, my I am working perfectly okay or not. So then it says that, okay, it's working. Then it's, so they will test their self as a power on self test. So whenever you switch on, the components will set their self, okay, I'm working. Okay, so all the components is switched on, and the system is trying to start. So how the system is going to start is that is going to start on the first the BIOS. Okay, the basic input output system, it's going to start on the system. Okay, so you can see that all the BIOS screen is loading, like you want to press F2, F12, F10, all those steps you will see, right, while booting the BIOS. So you can see the logo, which brand you have, that brand logo is going to switch on, and BIOS is loading all the stuff, right? So after BIOS is loaded, so BIOS is loaded, all the related components is checked off. Okay, all the components is okay, then the system is going to start. Okay, now after the BIOS is started, then you are going to start your actual system. Then what happens here, it is that it's going to happen a booting process. Okay, here is going to happen is the booting process. In the booting process, there are the three steps. Okay, there are the three steps which is going to happen. So basically, in this, okay, these three steps we can say is that this process completely is mbr. Okay, so first of all, it should identify that, so all the components are switched on, and it's going to start your operating system on the hard disk. So how the hard disk is going to read? Okay, so your hard disk is going to read something like this, right? So your header is here, and it's going to read your hard disk. So it starts from first sector, second sector, third sector, something like that. Okay, so in the first sector itself, our mbr is installed. In the sense, our mbr is located, master boot record is located in the first sector itself. Okay, so whenever your MBR is going to hit and the MBR is going to read all the information, so what the MBR contains, okay, it contains a 512 bytes, 512 bytes of information. So what this 512 bytes of information is going to here, it is that the 446 is the major part. Okay, so and remaining things are 64 is the partition information, and 2 is the error checking information, error check information. So something like while booting the hard disk or while system is on and you are going to read the hard disk, if you find any errors, so it's going to check the errors. Okay, so the 64 bytes will contains the hard disk information. Okay, so in the sense the partition information. Okay, so whenever your MBR is started on the first disk itself, then what it says, okay, here is your partition information, go. Then whenever you find your partition information on the 64 bytes, okay, where is my partition, okay, where is my slash, where is my slash boot, where is my slash home, where is my slash var, or where is my swap partition, all those stuff. Okay, you can find on the information. Then what happens this, whenever your MBR is completed successfully, like your MBR partition is identified the partition information, immediately next what happens here, it is that it boots the slash, from the slash boot it's going to boot a grub. Okay, so this grub, what happens here, it is that it will identify that, okay, where is my kernel configuration is located. So in the grub dot configuration file itself, it's located that here is your INAT RAM FS. Okay, the initial temporary file system, okay, initial random access memory file system is going to boot. Okay, so here it will point out to the RAM, and here there is a INIT RAM FS is the file system for temporary purpose. Temporary purpose in the sense, as of now nothing, the operating system is not yet started, but who is going to initialize that operating system? Okay, so the temporary file system is going to start, and it's going to start all the information of the grub information or kernel information and all the stuff. The kernel is going to start there itself. You get a kernel window, the booting information window you will get, like you want to select the which kernel type, like kernel 1 line, kernel 2 line, all the stuff you will get on the line itself. Okay, there you just select the kernel. If you did not select anything, so by default, which, yes, yeah, echoing. So I think you okay, so actually what happens here, it is here itself you can see that the window, like whenever your operating system is booting like this, so you can get this RHEL 7 7.1 something like that, you will get the information, kernel information, right? So here on the grub window you will get the this information, so the kernel is loading. Then if you did not press anything, by default whatever the kernel is set as a default one, it's going to load that kernel. Okay, so whenever your grub is started and kernel is going to load, and your initial RAM FS, the initial file system is going to start, then after initial file system, the initial loading has been started, what happened now, it should start a process IDs. So it should start the processes. What is the process is going to start? So as we discussed on the process classes, like ps command, okay, so we say that all the uh, processes are under system D, right? So our system D ID is always 1. We say our system D ID is always 1. While discussing the processes, we discussed this one. So this system D how is going to start? So who is going to start that system D? Somebody should start it, right? Or else how it's going to start? So what happens here? It is all the this kernel is loading, and is the kernel all the steps has been loaded. Okay, the step 1 and step 1.5 is loaded, and whenever it's going to start a services, what happens here? It is that it will execute a fork system call. Fork system call by executed by the system. Then what happens here? It is that whenever the fork system call is being executed, then our system D is going to start with the 1 PID, the first one, because none of the process has been started as of now. The first commerce, the first system D only come into the process list, say that yes, I am the first, then he is going to get the number one process ID ultimately, right? So now from here the system D is going to take care all the stuff. Okay, what happens here is that the system now, the processes, all the processes which are going to start under the mode, which mode you have set it out, like your target is by default GUI, or by default your target is CLI, which mode you have set it out on this, that target, which are the services are enabled, then the system is going to take care all those targets, like which target should run first, like in the sense run level we can say. So okay, in the target what are the services are going to start, so all the services will start under the system D. Okay, so now here what happens, then all the services going to start, and we can say simply MIG-TTY. So this going to trig. Okay, this is MIG-TTY is going to trig, then your user interface is going to load. User interface is going to load, then you can able to see that your login screen. So enter your username and password, all the stuff. Okay, that's it. So your Linux booting process has been completed. So but here where you can break your system and you can enter into the some privilege level and reset your password. Sometime you maybe forgot your root password, then if you have your system in front of you, then only you can reset this password, or else if you have the iDRAC access you can do that, but without that you cannot do a password reset. But here itself, if you have your grub password, then you cannot break the root password until unless you have the grub password. Okay, most of the systems we did not keep a grub password as a practical method, because if you reboot your machine, then it will ask you for the grub password. Until unless you provide the grub password, the system will not boot. That's why most of the times, like I did not see in any environment they keep the grub password. Okay, so now what happens here, it is that, so in this, after grub is trying to load here, the before starting any services, what we can do in this, we can break here. Okay, we can break here, and we hijack this grub loading, kernel loading. Then here what we'll do here, it is that we say to kernel, hey, do not go into the regular booting process, go as I said. Then what we'll do here, it is that we will turn this kernel booting into the single user mode. Okay, turn our booting process to the single user mode here. Then here we are hijacking our booting process, then we are instructing the kernel to say, hey, do not boot the regular system, then boot into the single user mode. Okay, after using the single user mode, what we will do here, it is that we will reset the password. Okay, we will reinitiate our CLNX policies to rerun. Okay, then reboot the system. Okay, that's it. Then after that again your all these stuffs will go and it will boot into the regular system. Then after your user interface is loaded, then type your resetted password which you are trying reset it, then you can log into the machine. Okay, so that's where you can going to do that. So how it's going to happen on the practical session, so we can just go and see how we can reset our Linux root user forgotten root user password. Okay, let's see here. So what we are going to do here is that, so I just switch on this machine. Okay, so yesterday we installed this operating system, right? So this one I'm just going to try to on switch on. Okay, now so what happens here, it is that now init rmfs is loading. So the actual temporary file system is loading now. So it's trying to boot all the systems. Okay, now the system has been started and services has been starting. That's it, our system has been loaded. So what I am doing here, it is that I am trying to log in here, but I'm not able to log in. Okay, authentication failure, I may forgot my password. So now what I have to do here, so what you have to do here, it is that you can simply click here and reboot your machine. Simply reboot your machine. Then after rebooting, what you can do here, it is that do not boot. Okay, just press any key, it will stop here. Press any key, it will stop here. So what happened, just select any kernel option here and press E for edit. See, there is a below, it is already instructed, press E to edit the selected item. Okay, so then press E. So whenever you press E, then it will see that what is your kernel configuration actually. So you can just come down here. Okay, there is a line which will start with Linux 16. There is a line which is starting with Linux 16. Okay, so that line you can just come to end of that line. Okay, then simply say write rd dot break. Okay, console equal to, okay, console equal to tty1. tty1. So what we are doing here, it is that we are saying, instructing the kernel to go into the first terminal. Go into the first terminal. Do not boot as a regular one. Just go as I said. Then press Ctrl X. Ctrl X. So now what happens here, it is that, so the temporary file system, the temporary ramfs has been loaded. You can see that generating run init ramfs rd.sasreport.exe something like. So temporary file system has been loaded. Now what happens here, it is that you can simply type mount command. So all the file system, whatever the actual slash file system, will be loaded as a read only mode. Loaded into read only mode. Now what we can do here is that we just mount our file system into rewrite mode. Okay, you can see in the last line slash dv slash sga2 on slash sysroot type xfs ro read only real time attributes. Okay, so which means that your file system into read only mode. So if you have read only mode, you cannot write the configuration. So now what we have to do, we forcefully remount the file system into rewrite. So mount -o, okay, remount the file system with read write slash sysroot. Okay, this is the temporary root file system. Now type mount and you can see that there is a rewrite option. You can see here, right? Here it was read only, here it was rewrite. Okay, now what we do here it is that we convert sysroot into sysroot file system. Now we just convert actual temporary root to actual root, change the root. Now here all the commands will work. Now what we can do here it is that password, simply type password, changing the root user password. Now change your root user password, right? My root password has been changed successfully. So after changing the root password, what we have to do is that we just create a file under slash dot auto relabel. So why we have to create this file is that if you reset your password, still your SE Linux is enforcing that your policy does not allow you to reset forcefully on the single user mode. Then what we are doing, instructing the C Linux saying that please rebuild your context files, in the sense SE Linux context. Please rebuild your SE Linux context and rebuild this all the files context, so that what happens, we will change the password, then the password is going to affect on the /etc/password file, right? So whenever it's rebuild this SE Linux context, so that our file the what are the changed password will be affected. Okay, hit enter. Now you are just to exit, so type exit and exit, so that your system is going to reboot. Okay, this is the very fast question on your examinations. Yes, I didn't get you. Yes, sysroot. Sysroot. So sysroot is our temporary file system. Temporary in the sense, before system is loading, there is a temporary one, init ramfs is going to load. Okay, in that, so there is no root partition as of now. Then what happens, temporarily, instead of mounting all the file system, it's mount the actual required file system into the /sysroot directory. Okay, it is not actual root, it is a fake root. Okay, so now what we did that, we just converted our actual fake root to actual root. Then, so what we are doing, actually we did not have direct access to login as a root. So what we are doing here is that we are temporarily going, in the sense all the file system did not loaded. Okay, temporarily there is only required file system has been loaded on the sysroot. Then what we did, we hijacking the sysroot and we converted actual sysroot, that temporary root file system, to actual root file system. Okay, then we came into the root mode, then we resetted our password and relabeled our C Linux, then exited from that console. That's it. So now you can log in into your system by using the new password. So like this you can reset your password. Okay, then you can, yeah, this is the very first question in your RSC and RSCE examination. Okay, if you fail, then nothing is going to happen. Okay, be careful that they are going to give a root password on the that web link itself. Okay, you should not keep any other password, you should keep only the password which is instructed on that question itself. Okay, so this is the very first question on your RCSA examination. You have to very be careful and confident enough to reset the password at any point of time. Okay, simply you can do that. You, it should be very handy to you that okay, I have to go this, I have to do this, all the step you should be very perfect, then only you can enter into the actual examination, or else there itself you can fail, nothing, 1 mark also you will not get. Okay, yeah, this is about the today's class. Okay, so actually I want to extend this class little bit, but the thing is that the troubleshooting part we have to discuss in deep. That's why I'm just ending up the class here. Yeah, troubleshooting part actually, if I can discuss, so it's not complete today. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss in deep that how we can going to troubleshoot your system errors, like whenever system is going to rebooted and your system is not going to boot properly. Okay, then what is the steps you have to do, so how you can do a rebuilding of your file system. Okay, correcting your not correct entries. So sometimes you may enter the different entries, like the entries which are not correct on the fs file system, all the stuff. Then how you can correct